Right. What constitutes abuse? Well, parental alienation, for one. Also, utilizing your children in order to get back at your ex. Depends on the type of damage that you do. Now, this Sam lady tried to make the accusations that destroy a man's life and lead to his suicide. If she didn't get what she wanted, now I've shown you this literally hundreds of times with hundreds of different women on my channel. Or if they don't get what they want right when they want it, they'll play victim and make all sorts of allegations and accusations. A lot of women pretended they were going to help me after Natalie died. And they didn't keep their word, because we don't teach women to keep their word. We teach them that they are not to be held responsible for a goddamn thing. And if somebody tries to hold them responsible, just pretend he's a chimo or a rapist or a woman beater. Meanwhile, who is more likely to be the assailant in a relationship? Is it the man or the woman? 30 times over, it's more likely to be the woman. That's right. Do you know why? Because women hit men more often and more frequently. Well, a man gets sick of you hitting him over and over and over again and pushes you away, and magically he's a woman beater. Do you stop to consider that you hit him over 30 times? Over 30 times that you hit him, and you expect him to just take that. He owes it to you to take that physical abuse because you're a woman. You're just a girl. For you, you're just a girl. Every one of these, I'm a strong, independent woman. Every single one of them will play that, oh, I'm just a girl bullshit. Why am I not interested in dating anyone? Because I don't want to deal with that bullshit. I'm a human being, goddammit. I seen a hobo earlier. I don't agree with Chloe Roma in most situations. There's reason for that. She's not a men's rights advocate. She's got her own ulterior motives. She's also got more help than any man I know. She's able to pay her bills and make a living off of that. She was even bragging about making $60K a month. $60,000 without actually from pictures. That's right. And of course, a lot of her channel, it's not dedicated to our rights as human beings at all. Most of it is telling guys who have no chance whatsoever how to get a woman they stand no chance with. Well, why? Why do that? Why even try? You know, when it comes to men's rights, we need to worry and focus on our actual rights, not our right to breed, because that's not a right. If that was a right, well, then that would take away any and all rights for women if you could just go running around breeding with them whenever you wanted. There's this thing called consent. And consent is important. However, it should be important both ways. If a woman says no, how many of us actually acknowledge that? Most of us. How many women are used to being told no? For a woman, being told no could be the end of the world in her mind. And then, of course, if a guy gets a compliment, you know, we'll hold on to that compliment for the rest of our lives. For a woman, she needs a constant reminder. And I've had so many women tell me this stuff. Like, they want to give me dating advice and dating pointers. And for me, it's never been about dating. Why is it they want to reinterpret everything that I say into something about dating? When a man's being abused, we're told things like, oh, you just need to get laid. No, getting laid doesn't stop abuse. That doesn't fix any of my problems. Oh shit. Sorry. There's humans right around the corner, and I always feel rude about interrupting their smoke break when I'm making a video. Oh my god, my back is killing me. Oh. I had to go fly my sign because I really do need money for gas. Somebody really did put gas, or not gas, but sugar in my gas tank, so I got to deal with that. See, that's the thing about this feller who ended his own life. And Chloe Roma's angry about it. And then this lady who, well, tried to victimize her husband, her own husband, into committing suicide. She wanted to get on there and say, oh, well, you treated this guy way nicer than you treated me. Well, you know what? I think Chloe did a great job of trying to be as impartial as possible while much wanting to be a complete and total bitch. Now this lady who wanted to pretend like her husband might touch their kids. You have no idea how many times I've seen that and heard that out of a woman who didn't get what she wanted. It's a direct threat. Because although she's not wording it as a direct threat, it's a, well, you know what? If I don't get what I want, I'm going to pretend like you did these things. So you better watch out. You better give me the internet code or I will tell people that you beat on me and touched our children inappropriately. Holy hell. And then, of course, we've gotten to see videos recently of women who are literally screaming at their children, telling their children that things happened to them that didn't happen. And when those children didn't agree and said, no, that didn't happen, what did those mothers do? Screamed at them more. One of those women was smacking the pillow right next to her daughter's head as hard as she could. Yes, he did too touch you, didn't he? Didn't he? And the girl said, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. Didn't he? Say he did it. Say he did it. While she's pounding the fuck out of that pillow, scaring that little girl. Yeah, that's us girls got to stick together. You know why you girls are being abused so often? You're being abused by your friends. You're listening to your friends. One lady was telling me about a guy that she dated. And apparently he's famous now. Goes by a different name and everything. She was talking about how she was dating him. And he was about the nicest guy in the whole damn world. Right? He was such a great guy. But he wasn't the best looking. And some of her friends didn't like him because he wasn't part of the cool crowd. Well, now he's cool enough to hang out in Hollywood. Is that cool enough for her? No, that's too cool for her. She doesn't get to go to those parties. She doesn't get to hang out with those people. Now, do I know if that story's true or not? I've got no fucking clue. I didn't know her back in the day when this shit was supposed to go on. Hell, I barely remember her well enough to remember that she told a story about a famous dude. What was the moral of the story in that? Well, she ended up with a whole string of crappy relationships after that. Just one crappy relationship after another. And what happened to that guy that she threw away because her friends didn't think he was popular enough for her? Well, he's famous and rich now. Sure be nice, right? Of course, then we get these stories, you tell them to all of us, don't you? All of us autistic people. Y'all want to tell us the story of, God, what is that woman's name? The one in Colorado. Temple Grandin, that's right. And you tell us all about Temple Grandin and how, because of Temple Grandin, we all have rights now. And people understand autistic people now magically because of Temple Grandin. And you know, she's not our Messiah. She's only one person. She doesn't represent every single one of us, and she's not all of us. Some of the things that she does, like PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they don't like her. She used her understanding of animals, bovines, the psychology of those animals, to make it easier to slaughter animals, bovine in specific. So there's a lot of people with PETA who want to say that people with Asperger's, people who are autistic, don't have any emotions. And the thing is, most of us have more emotions than you could even handle. A lot of times we get people who want to pretend like we are violent, like we're inherently violent, and we go out seeking violence. And the reality is, violence against us is 12 times more likely the other way around when it comes to strangers, and over 30 times more likely when it comes to friends and family. That's right. Most often, we are the recipients. And of course, we have to blame people that are different than us, huh? My mom blames Mexicans, my dad blames blacks. My dad also likes to blame women. My mom likes to blame men. Meanwhile, the people who did good stuff for them have names. The people who did bad stuff to them have names, and none of their names are men or women. When we teach people that a specific group is to blame for the actions of individuals, what are we saying and what are we doing? We're taking individual responsibility away from the individual. We're making it a blameless society. It's not the cop's job, right? Or rather, it's not the cop's fault that they didn't do their job, try to wriggle away out of it. You guys have gotten to see that it's not just men who are going out of their way to be victimized. That's how you treat it, isn't it? That these men wanted this, they needed it, they chose it, they deserved it. We also get to see and hear from women out here on the streets going through the same things. A lot of sober people out here getting taken by the same addicts. And not just addicts on the streets. The drugs out here on the streets all come from people in houses. Then as a man, I'm told that everything that's ever happened to a woman is my fault because of the genitalia that I was born with. And then, of course, when you see situations like, you remember in the Dalles, Oregon, when I videotaped that situation with Jamie. What would have happened if I hadn't yelled? 30 people watched that, and did absolutely nothing. If I hadn't spoken up, would he have hit her again? Yeah, probably. I'm not going to pretend that somebody can't be a victim just because they're female. And if there are disabilities that people are working with, I do try to work with those disabilities, but I have my own disabilities. Claire Jordan had an exceptionally screwed up time here. Not only was she taken advantage of, but the services that she was sent to for help here to take her kids away and give them to somebody who is not their father and send them to Florida. Meanwhile, they sent her around in circles for months with services here, promising her that if she jumped through this hoop and jumped through that hoop and did this stuff out at Helping Hands and that stuff out at Helping Hands, no matter what she did out there at Helping Hands, it didn't make any difference, did it? Nope. At the end of the day, she had to try to take advantage of other homeless people. And some of those homeless people are angry, and some of them understand. You know what? You don't mess with somebody's kids. Her going out of her way to rip people off, well, that's not her intent. That's not what she started off doing. She started off trying to get help for herself and help for her kids. When it ended up a situation where she took advantage of me, it was out of desperation, not out of hatred, not out of malice. It was out of desperation and fear of not getting her kids back, not getting to see her kids again. Her fear of not having the money to leave the state and having to start over somewhere else again and again and again. And yeah, she did some screwed up stuff to me. And to a few other people here too. But all of us understand why she did it. And all of us make exceptions and even excuses for her because she's got kids. I'm not sure if you noticed this about me, but I'm not likely to change on that. I'm against the Me Too movement. I believe that no victim should be left behind, regardless of their gender. When a man speaks up about the abuse that he endured in one of those groups, instead of people trying to understand, he gets the whole "you need to go to the back of the bus" treatment. How dare you speak up when there's women who are still being abused? How dare you come forward about your abuse when you have the genitalia of the people we blame? The Me Too movement is a sexist movement, just like BLM and the KKK are both racist movements. Even BLM has shown that they don't give two shits about a black man if he's homeless. Now, y'all know me. I grew up in the system getting my ass beat for being a white guy. If there's anybody that I know who's got a right to be racist against black people, I'd say it's probably me. And yet I don't. Why is that? Why don't I go blaming all black people for all my problems? Why don't I just go pretending that every single black person out there is somebody like Tim, who used to beat me up for being white? Because not all black people are doing that to me. But what do we hear out of BLM? It's white people, white people, white people. Let me tell you something. If a rapist rapes a black woman and a white woman, should we really argue over black women or white women having it worse? Or should we do something about the fact that it's the same guy, same predator? They were both raped by the same guy. Does it matter their skin color? No, what should matter there is the heinous crime that was committed. Let's say a police officer beats a black man to death and a white man to death. Does it matter their skin color? What should matter is the fact that a human life was lost. What should matter is that the people with a position of power, the people that we're supposed to go to when we need help, are the ones who hurt us when we go to them, especially if we're male, especially if we're homeless, especially if we are disabled. Now, how many people have you heard on my channel talking about how they would kill people if this stuff happened to them? Quite a few. And through all those people talking about killing people over and over and over and over again, none of them killed anybody. Now, did I tell you guys that I would kill child molesters and rapists? No, I did not. I told you I would expose them. And if you pay attention to the last 7 years on my channel, I've done exactly that. I told on Waylon Lolatai. You didn't listen, and he assaulted 7 more people on camera. I didn't just tell you about Waylon Lolatai, I told you about Clearview. And they've killed 2 more people so far. I told you about the missing women of Hardin, Montana. And it still took 2 years for the United States, over 2 years, for the United States government to acknowledge that that's an epicenter for missing murdered indigenous people. I told you about that church in the Dalles and how it's being run like a prison yard. Now, all these things have been on the news, and you still treat me like I'm a nut. There's a gentleman panhandling where I was gonna. And I'm actually gonna hope he gets better luck than I did. I sat there for an hour earlier and got jack shit. Being broke fucking sucks. I sat there for quite a while earlier and didn't make anything, but sometimes it just takes a few seeds to get started.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, I got a few seeds in my pocket. Here is some money seeds. Plant these in your pocket and they'll grow into leaves. I hope. I don't. I totally just found this one on the ground over there. If you got rolling papers, I got tobacco in my car. Oh my God, you suck. We can't be friends. A pick?
A pipe.
That'll make your tobacco taste nasty. It'll make your weed taste even nastier. Well, on the bright side, I have enough on my food stamp card. I can still go in and get something. I can't get any hot food, but who cares? Anything's better than nothing, and it gives me an excuse to go inside. The one thing I advocate about the most is that both sides be heard. It's wrong to deny somebody their rights by calling them mentally ill. To take away their rights as a human being, refuse to look at their evidence, send them in magic circles that get them absolutely nowhere. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And like I said, I don't always know the right thing to do. Right now I'm putting up garbage on the ground. It's not my garbage, but I know that it's right to do so. I know that when I see a guy beating on a woman half his size and twice his age, a lady who's got severe mental problems and can't take care of herself, I know that it's right to record it up to the point that he gets physically violent. At that point, it's right for me to speak up. Isn't that what you'd want somebody to do if it was your mom, your sister, your wife, your daughter? Wouldn't you want somebody to do something? Or would you want everybody to just mind their business while your mother is beaten to death, while your sister is beaten to death, while your daughter is beaten to death? It shouldn't come down to somebody like me who's gimpy and homeless to say something. But also, the difference between this continuing and something being done to stop it is whether or not you speak up when you see something happening. The difference in a predator molesting one child and molesting hundreds could come down to something as simple as whether or not you speak up when you see it happen. And I've had more than one person explain it to me like this. If somebody rapes a child and you see it happen, it's not your fault that it happened. But if you don't come forward, then every child that son of a bitch rapes or molests after that is absolutely your fault for doing nothing. We actually have laws now so that you can be prosecuted for doing nothing. And the people who are supposed to be held to this standard the most are first responders, mandated reporters. And as you can see, if you're a guy, they're not going to do their job. They're going to make every excuse not to. They're going to make every excuse to find something else to do or someone else to blame. When it comes to child abuse, I don't mess around. I speak up immediately, and I speak up loud and proud. If I'm wrong, and I'll admit it. But if I'm wrong because I was lied to, I'll also admit to who lied to me. Some of y'all look at my channel and you hear the anti-women stuff. Some of you look at my channel and you listen to the anti-men stuff. I'm not against either. I'm against human stupidity. I'm against sexism, and I'm against racism. Even more than all of those, I am against nationalism, however. As an American, I understand that the Constitution is just a piece of paper, and it's a piece of paper that's ignored until people want to incite magical bullshit words like loyalty and honor. Following blindly is not honorable. It's stupid. That's loyalty. I believe in loyalty above all else except honor. What does that mean? If you're loyal to somebody who's not honorable, then you're not loyal, because neither are they. I take a lot of abuse and I speak up about that abuse. I understand that as a male, I am more likely to be abused for speaking up than I am to get help. I also know that in making the attempt, at least I'm showing that this is really how it is. It's not just a figment of my imagination. This sexism is very real. It's not just a figment of my imagination. The egg busted on my car is very real. It's not just a figment of my imagination. The people I recorded threatening to kill me and making false accusations, they're very real. Now, Chloe Roma, she focuses on the wrong areas. See, she doesn't care about us until we're dead, and then it's a point of contention. What about while we're still alive? Do you ever try to share our stories while we're alive? While we're screaming out for help? Or are you busy trying to sell merchandise? Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that you exposed that lady. But the thing is, there's so many of us out here, we're fighting hard for survival. We don't have a house. We don't have all that situation going on. We don't have advocates that care. Bless you. All you gotta do to destroy a man's life is pretend that he might do something bad to you. For a man, he can have all the evidence in the world that he's the victim. But nobody wants to listen because he's just mansplaining. It's easy to tell if somebody respects you when you have a problem. Because when you have problems, people respect you enough to listen instead of talk over it and pretend like some pretty thing they said is supposed to fix it. They don't bother to find out what you've already gone through. For me, I do spend a portion of my money every month on a defense budget. That's because a lot of people like to put their hands on me. When people choose somebody to victimize, they usually choose somebody smaller than them. Usually somebody much older or much younger. Somebody who's got less muscle mass, less height, and in most cases, somebody who's very much alone. So I get stuff like this. It's a flashlight. But it'll zap the living shit out of somebody. Now, every time that somebody has assaulted me, I've either had this or my pepper spray on me. Now, how many times have I zapped people? Never. Out of all the times that you've seen people assault me, threaten me, harass me, how many people have I sprayed in the face with my pepper spray? None. And all that time, how many people have I zapped with my bug zapper? None. Not a single one. Well, that gentleman who was over there standing on the corner has left already. I gave him a quarter, a nickel, and 3 pennies, I think, is all I had. Hopefully that was a good seed starter, and hopefully somebody passed him a 20 and that's why he's leaving. Hopefully he made enough food, some pot, whatever it is he was after. But now that he's gone, I'm going to take the spot. To this thing about not having friends or family. Everything is 10 times more than it should be. You don't have anybody that you can actually depend on, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares if you're raped. Nobody cares if you're beaten. Nobody cares if you're taken advantage of, stolen from, molested. Nobody gives two shits. If you're a man, you're not a person. I usually do a lot better on Sundays than absolutely nothing. I did get a coffee for nothing today, though. Now that Sam lady, yeah, what should happen to people who make false allegations? It's one thing for somebody who's pretending like they were victimized because they want to manipulate you. It's another thing entirely when you manufacture bullshit yourself, like Matty Boa, Tim Beast, Ted Bollinger. Americans, as I've noticed, are the most disgusting people on the planet. They'll allow any kind of misery and hell to happen to other people. As long as it's not happening to them, it's okay. About the most disgusting thing that I can think of to be as an American. Not that I have much choice, I was born here. And then I get told how lucky I am to be victimized here in America instead of somewhere else. No, I'm not. And somewhere else, they might have had the decency to put a bullet through my head and end my goddamn misery. Here in America, we got a bunch of cowards that just threaten to do so. There's people here who say, oh, Sean, I'm your friend. No, you're not. If we don't see each other while you're at work, you're not going to make time for me. Some of these folks, they made time to do one specific thing that they really wanted to volunteer to do, but really I needed them to listen instead of stopping and interrupting and saying, well, you do this. Shut up, please. Please shut up and listen. Please. And that's the number one problem with women, is that women don't believe that men should be allowed to speak. They believe that their contribution, while we are expected to give actual contributions of blood and sweat, a woman believes that her contribution, when we're being abused, is to tell us off, to tell us what to do, what to think, and what to feel. That's not fucking help. A lot of the women I know, when they had to move, they called up every man that they knew. And a lot of men showed up to help these women move. And the most horrible part of that wasn't that all these men showed up. It was the fact that she could have done it by herself. But she didn't have to. How many of you guys are going to make a woman do it herself? Not very many. Oh, looks like the cops pulled somebody over. Wonder who it is. Anyway, there's a lot of people with opinions in this country. Opinions of things they haven't had to live through. Lucky them. Then there's people like me who don't have families. That makes us easy to victimize. You get to see how often I'm alone. That makes me easy to victimize. And none of you want to recognize that. I get to listen to women pretend like because somebody could do something to them. There's a difference between they could and they are. Okay? If you were just fucking raped, then yeah, maybe you got a fucking excuse to be a shitty excuse for a goddamn human being. But most of you have never been raped, never been molested. Hell, most of you are so goddamn ugly, people don't even want to look at you. How does that feel? It doesn't feel good, does it? Meanwhile, 80% of men in the United States are considered ugly by women. 80% of us. Not mildly unattractive, but straight up ugly. And when you're one of the ugly dudes, you get to be in the toolbox. Look. You notice I did not say the friend zone, because you're not friends, all right? You don't exist until she wants something. You go back into the toolbox until she wants something. And she'll remember you exist next time she wants somebody to do something for free. Now, thank goodness to the women in this country that don't pull that stuff, but we've taught most of them to be that way. If she doesn't get what she wants, play victim. Play victim. And somehow, Americans seem to think this is okay. We go right along with it, don't we? How did Jamie end up in such a screwed up situation? Or Natalie? Well, Jamie ended up in a screwed up situation by playing victim with James and then asking me to fix it. But hey, lady, you're the one that told me he beat on you. You're the one that said, hey, call me every week. I'm afraid because I live in the same town as James. You're also the one that didn't answer your phone. You're the one who said, if anything happens to me, James did it. Hopefully I'll be able to go in tomorrow to the library and hopefully get my computer working. Hopefully I'll have help carrying it in there. See, that's the thing that none of you try to understand. I was ripped off for everything that I had. Everything that I busted my ass for that was supposed to help me. Supposed to help me to stop the abuse. But what do these people do? From Nicole Gerald to Nicole Peralta to Jeff Ritter, all before Natalie was killed, taking advantage of me for monetary gain. See, when you're abused and the people that you're sent to as an at-risk and disabled adult, all they want to do is send you on a magic ride of mental health, mental health, mental health. Yeah, therapists are sure going to help you fill out the paperwork to stop abuse, aren't they? No, they're not. It could take up to 8 hours of their day to do their jobs as mandated reporters. They don't want to do their jobs as mandated reporters because they already decided that they're just going to line people up 50 minutes for their appointments, 10 minutes in between appointments, and they're not going to miss their next appointment. That's money. Especially if that next appointment is somebody who they've got written down on paper as a drug addict. That's a lot more free money for treatment. But they're not being treated. They're being used for monetary gain. You, the taxpayers, you're paying for this. For all these homeless people to be out here year after year after year. And why is it? Why is it that we're spending over $1,000 a month per homeless person for them to be stuck out here on the streets? Meanwhile, they're not seeing any of that $1,000. All these services are seeing that money. All these services that are refusing to do their jobs as mandated reporters, saying that they don't have the time, they don't have the staff. Well, then they need to tell the fucking cops that. Fuck this goddamn country and everyone in it. And I do mean that. There's no such thing as a good American. I've been from coast to coast in the past 7 years. I've met nice people. I haven't met a single good one.
Where are you going now?
Being abused is, well, I'm busy right now. Maybe next week. Next week it's, well, I'm still busy. Maybe next week. Hey, we'll do it on Friday, okay? How does Friday sound? And then, of course, on Friday they don't call, they don't answer. Ignore you for 3 days and then want to treat you like shit because they ignored you like you weren't even a person. Now, how many people actually come through? And how often? Oh. It took me a minute to realize there was no driver. I didn't want to cross because it looked like that big ass truck was about to go around the corner. And then I realized there was a lady in the passenger seat and 2 dogs in the driver's seat. Alright, I can cross. Anyway, there's a lot of fucked up shit going down. I don't know if what's been said about Christian is true or not. Maybe he's in Salem. Maybe he died on the way to the hospital. Those are the 2 rumors I heard. He was either at the hospital in Salem or he was dead. When it comes to protecting kids, there's a lot of people who got involved that, well, they aren't the kind of people that should have had kids. They're the kind of people that want to be entertained by death, destruction, and mayhem and the harm of others. Of course, that makes it so that we all get to be more grateful for the good parents, don't we? When we see somebody who's got parents that aren't like ours, a lot of the parents that promise to help me, they have the luxury of hiding behind their children when they do something fucked up. I don't have that luxury. I don't have any kids. It's kind of hard to have kids when abuse is what's respected in the United States. And I don't mind being verbally abusive back. All right, that part, no problem whatsoever. There gets a point where being nice does not work. When being nice and looking the other way just results in injury after injury after injury, it's probably time to change tactics. When you tell your son who's getting beaten up every day that he just needs to try to fit in more, well, maybe you should take a look at the situation and why he doesn't fit in. Can he help it? Can a white-skinned individual in Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington, is a white person going to fit in? No. It's 81% minority. If you're white in Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington, you best just be glad if you're not getting your ass beat every day. What's the most common reason for boys in Lincoln High School to leave Lincoln High School? Abuse at home. What's the most common reason for a girl in Lincoln High School, specifically white girls? What's the most common reason for them leaving school? Pregnancy. Yeah, pregnancy. Like apparently, once she becomes pregnant, the school starts having all sorts of issues. They don't want to have to deal with her having morning sickness. They don't want to have to make special exceptions for her. They don't want the disruption to their class. They don't want this. They don't want that. They don't want all sorts of stuff, right? When I was in Lincoln High School, there were girls that got pregnant while I was there. There's also a lot of girls that were messed with because they were white. But for the most part, when people had a daughter and lived in that area, for the most part, they didn't want their daughters going to that school. Not because they were afraid of their daughters having half black babies, but because they were afraid of their daughters being abused, and they were. See, there's a difference between a black neighborhood and a dirty neighborhood. 72nd in Tacoma, that's a dirty neighborhood. Dirty white people, dirty black people, dirty Asian people, dirty people, every color, every religious denomination. So what are we doing about it? What are we doing to change it? Are you saying, oh, I can't do anything for my kids. All I can do is teach them to be better than I am? No, you can't. You're not capable. Okay? Your children may or may not choose to be a better person than you, but you're not capable of teaching them. All you teach your children is to say one thing and do another. You tell your kids it's never okay to hit a woman, and then you choke out your wife. You say it's never okay for a man to hit a woman, but then you hit your husband over and over and over. You get drunk 5 times a week, and 3 of those times you get physically violent, and 2 of those times you're pissed off because you want to get laid. If he's horny and you've got a headache, that's acceptable. Whatever other excuse that you want to make should be acceptable. No means no. But what happens if a man says no? Oh, he just can't get it up. Oh, he's calling you ugly, isn't he? Because he can't get it up. Oh, he's not a real man because he can't get it up. And then that turns into, oh, well, he's just got a tiny penis anyway. He could never satisfy me. He's into little boys and he wears girls' clothing. I've been a man for a long time, like my entire life. I've seen my entire life how we are expected to treat female predators, how we're expected to coddle them and pretend like they didn't do anything wrong because vagina. And the reality is, the mother, 59, almost 60% of the time. 59% of the time, when a child is killed by a parent, it's the mother. 59% of the time. Yeah. We've also gotten to see recently that while we've had 4 male educators this year arrested for having sex with students, we've now had 44 female teachers arrested for having sex with underage students. 44 of them. In 1 year. And the year's not even over. A woman is more likely to use slander in retaliation to try to have a man harmed. Because for a woman, it works. Oh, poor her. She can't defend herself. She's a woman. But she doesn't need to defend herself. She's the fucking predator. All a female predator has to do is go, oh, I'm afraid he might hurt me. Really? By the time a man is speaking up, he's already paying consequences far beyond his means. We don't all get the luxury of batting our eyes and shaking our tits like Jamie does. Not even all women get that luxury. Now, my older brother, his saying was that there's no excuse for a woman who comes down Pearl Street to get laid to walk away without getting laid. He said, if you won't hit it, someone else will. Yeah. Men are expected to be full service. Full service. We're supposed to have the entire package. We're supposed to have the nice vehicle and a spare for you that's yours. We're supposed to already have the house. We're supposed to already be making $100,000 a year. We're supposed to be 6 foot tall with a great tan and a big dick. Well, good luck with that. And then we got homewreckers. What are those? Those are little 18-year-olds that want the whole 9 yards, the whole package, but they don't want to earn it. They don't want to work together with a man to make a future with that man. They want a man with a already built, preset future. Everything's already there. All she's got to do is get rid of the wife. And when that doesn't work, what happens? What happens when that doesn't work? We get allegations. Destroys innocent men's lives. Now, who is it that a woman is more likely to tell on? Her heroin dealer or the guy who rescued her from her heroin dealer? She's more likely to blame it on the guy who rescued her from her heroin dealer because she's still going to be an addict. Who's more likely to take consequences when she leaves her boyfriend? The boyfriend who beat on her? Or the tool in the toolbox that she's pretending she's friends with? Well, as we all know, the majority of the time she's going to go back to what's familiar. Biggest dickus. I've had a lot of women tell me, Sean, size doesn't matter. Well, thank you for volunteering that information. But out of many of those women, I've also gotten to hear them say, you know, when a woman says size doesn't matter, she's just trying to make you feel better. And I'll brag about having a tiny penis. I don't care. I use it for peeing. I'm just glad that it's not so long that it drops in the trough when I use an urinal, you know? And then there's a lot of women that I know that say men only think about one thing. You know, most of the time we're too busy trying to focus on getting everything that you want to worry about getting laid. By the time we're done running your honey-do list, we just want to go to fucking sleep. And we should be allowed to have a headache too. Maybe I don't really have a headache. Maybe I'm just tired after a whole day of running around, running errands. Then there's a lot of women that I hear that say, you know, I'm a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife. This is even worse. If you're a stay-at-home wife and you've got no kids, and you don't clean and you don't cook, you don't do nothing but stay at home and party. You go out partying with your friends as soon as your husband gets home, and during the day, while you're at home, what are you doing? Now let's say you're not one of those. Let's say you're actually a mother. Let's say you got 2 kids, so you actually have your hands kind of full. If you're going to say that raising your kids is a job that is thankless and that you don't get paid for, do you have a roof over your head? Then you're getting paid. Do you have food on the table? Or in your fridge? Because you might not cook it. I know a lot of guys who get off of work, go home, and then cook for their families. I know bricklayers who get off of work and go home and cook for their families. And I'm not sure if you've ever messed around with cement. That stuff, it eats your fingers raw. Gives you deep cracks in the end of your fingers. deep calluses, and those things just crack and bleed all day long. I don't mean like bleeding profusely. I mean the way that dry skin bleeds when it cracks. Meanwhile, we got Chloe Roma giving bad advice. Also, I've been reaching out to her and any other advocate I can that claims that they care about men's rights. But they don't. They care about popularity. What's popular? Does she ever work together with the victims? No, she doesn't care about male victims until they're fucking dead, or if they're famous. As far as Johnny Depp goes, I was on his side just because of what Chloe Roma had to say about him. Then I saw the stuff with Jason Momoa at court and the way that Johnny Depp treated it. Yeah. If Amber Heard said that she was sexually assaulted by Johnny Depp, I'd believe her. If she said she was physically assaulted by Johnny Depp, I'd believe her. I saw what a fucking joke that was turned into, and it wasn't just because Johnny Depp and Jason Momoa wanted to act like fucking turds and not take it seriously. The most disgusting part of that wasn't that part. It was how women magically changed sides when it was a heartthrob. We've seen this time and again. Why is it that Bill Cosby has to deal with that, but Denzel Washington doesn't? Come on now, think quick. They're both black men. A lot of people want to pretend that the only reason Bill Cosby got what Bill Cosby got is because he's black. Well, Jamie Foxx is black. Why isn't he going through it? Good question, right? Chris Rock is black. He's not having to go through that. Of course, he pissed off Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, so it's a possibility he might have to. Comes down to popularity. A show of hands, not that I can see any of your hands. How many of you lost all respect for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Obviously, I'm going to get back to smoking my tobacco pipe here. I'm going to turn on my vehicle. I'm going to try to get some charge on my car. Craig said he'd see me today. I ain't seen him. I deal with abuse every day. Yesterday, I got my car egged. They also threw granola bars at my vehicle and tampons. The tampons are about the most useful thing they sent me. You like how I said that? How they sent it to me? Make it sound a lot fucking nicer than it is. Just so you know, a tampon is hell on wheels for a sucking wound. There's a lot of other wounds that a tampon is great for. Now, some of the Ukrainians were making fun of Russians for putting tampons in their med kit. If you knew how effective a fucking tampon can be for preventing a motherfucker from bleeding to death, yeah, you'd carry a tampon too, even as a dude. You never know when you're going to have to step out of your rig and change one of them two-piece tires, and the goddamn ring is going to pop off and fucking fling something at you that you got in your hands. Next thing you know, you got a tire iron embedded in your chest, just far enough to puncture through the diaphragm, but not enough that it stays there and it falls right out because it's fucking heavy. Next thing you know, you got a goddamn sucking wound. Or you're hiking through a trail, you hit a part with some loose gravel and you slide 20 feet downhill, and all of a sudden you have impaled yourself through the calf with a stick that's 1.5 inches around. Well, you better do something to stop the bleeding. The tampon isn't necessarily going to stop the bleeding entirely. What it's going to do is expand itself in the hole and make it difficult to bleed out. It would still be better in that situation if you had a tourniquet because, well, as we all know, the foreign things in the body generally get collected by infection and expelled from the body. However, if the body cannot dispel it immediately, that infection may spread and it may kill you. So although a tampon is a good idea to have in case of emergencies, it's not going to replace a full med kit. That's one of those things where if you've got somebody with 3 entrance wounds and 3 exit wounds and you only have enough sterile packages to cover 4 of them, you're going to have to plug them other 2 holes with something. Because that's the nature of sucking wounds. If you got 6 holes, you got to vent off all 6 of those holes or it just doesn't work. It's like, let's say, for example, you've got a fish tank. And you've got fish in the fish tank. And they'll die if you let the water run out. And you have just enough of that special tape that you see on TV to cover 3 of the holes that are in the bottom of the tank, or 4 of the holes that are in the bottom of the tank. But you still got 2 holes that are there. Yeah, maybe stuffing a tampon in each of those holes isn't going to keep it from draining out. But it'll slow up the flow enough that hopefully you get a goddamn tank to somewhere where you can put some silicone in it. Or get to some more tape. Or God forbid, find another bowl to stick them goddamn fish in.